Okay, and here's the camshaft for the intake side, and this mark needs to be facing up too. Okay guys, I think I finally was able to figure it out. I think the way you want to go about setting this up is, well, you want to get this camshaft, which is on the exhaust side, to top dead center, and well, this is going to be facing up when it's at top dead center. This dot here that's on the back, and this notch with this lines up here. Well, the way I got it to top dead center, or you know, it doesn't have to be 100% top dead center because we're just setting it up for now, but I just put this cap back on here loosely just to use it as a point of reference, and lined it up with this notch that goes on the camshaft pulley, and the hole on the camshaft pulley lines up with this pin here and this notch that's on this cam bearing. So yeah, so after that, just went back here, and on the exhaust, or on the intake side, that dot that's on the gear needs to be on the upside too, and then the distance between these two needs to be 7 chain links, which including the ones that are sitting on top of these. So it's going to be on top of the dot here and the notch here. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. That last one. Okay, though, before I put the bearing cap on, I'm going to apply some engine assembly lube to the mating surfaces. Okay, and while torquing this down, you want to do a little bit at a time on each side, so it goes in even. And also double check, make sure you put all the caps with the arrow facing towards the timing belt. Okay. Oh, and you torque these to 11 foot/pound. Okay, now we just repeat the steps. We just repeat the torque for these. I'm gonna go from here to here, 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 and here. Okay, so next it's time to put on our camshaft sprocket. There's only one way that this goes on here, so it's dummy proof. Okay, in order to torque this down, we're gonna hold it in place using a wrench, holding it in place right here. Then we're gonna torque it down to 75 foot/pound. There we go. Okay, with our camshaft sprocket installed, we turn this slightly clockwise to get the slack out from the top and get it on the bottom, on the tensioning side. So now we're just gonna hopefully be able to slide this thing in. Let's see. There we go. I'll put these bolts in, and we're going to torque these down to, I don't have a torque spec for this, but since they're longer, I'm going to torque them to 13 foot/pound, just a little bit more than the camshaft bearing torque. Okay, and next we just pull this drill bit that we're using as a pin, and now should be a tension applied to the timing chain. Okay, so we're gonna need to swap over a couple of stuff from the old cylinder head. The first thing we're gonna swap over is this OCV filter. This guy right here. This goes in here. Okay, and the torque spec for this is, I think, 35 foot/pound. Okay, next we're gonna install our OCV valve, or the OCV, and it's probably a good idea to put some oil on it because it's a tight fit. And there we go. Got lucky. Okay, next is time for this guy, which I think is the oil temperature sensor. You gotta put some thread sealant on this, otherwise it's gonna get an oil leak. I don't have any thread sealant, so I just put some ultra gray gasket maker on there. It should be okay. Okay, and the next piece is this camshaft position sensor that goes on the right side of the cylinder head. There we go. Alright, here's this thing I forgot to put in this bracket, this rear timing belt bracket that goes on the cylinder head before I put in my my camshaft sprocket. So, gonna take that sprocket off and put this back on. Okay, and the way you want to put this seal on is, well, what I'm doing is I'm just using a 34mm socket and with an extension, and I'm just gonna apply some pressure with my hand, see if this thing goes in. If not, Oh, it goes in. There we go. Just want to make sure it's gone in even all the way around. Yeah, looks good. Just gonna put everything back on there. Okay, next I want to get the timing belts back on, but as you can see, our camshaft is not lined up at top dead center with that notch in the back. So I'm just gonna turn this counterclockwise and line that notch up with this hole. Okay. Generally speaking, I don't like to do this. That is turning things counterclockwise to line things up, but I can't really turn these clockwise all the way because two of the cylinders are at top dead center, and the valves would hit the pistons if I do. So yeah, but it should work. And actually, I'm gonna turn this counterclockwise a little further, and then I'll turn it clockwise and line it up. This will get the slack, because we're creating slack at top of the camshaft chain over there. I don't know if you guys can see, but when we turn it counterclockwise, it puts slack on the top of the chain tensioner. That's the kind of a guide. It's not really the tensioner. The tensioner is on the lower side, so you want the slack on the bottom. So that's why I turned it past this a little bit. Now I'm going to turn it clockwise and line it up. Next, I'm gonna get our timing belt and slide it over this camshaft gear. And before I took this off, I marked a couple of these. I marked both the belt and the the camshaft gear, so we can line them up exactly when they go back, when putting it back on. So I'm sure this is at top dead center, or this is how it was when I first took it off. Alright, next we just slide in our tensioner, which goes back here. Okay, next we apply tension by using a 5mm Allen key and turning it counterclockwise. I don't know how well you guys going to be able to see, but again, if you're doing a timing belt I have a timing belt video on the same engine, so you guys can go ahead and watch that if you want. And then we just tighten this bolt down, and that should do it for now. We're gonna turn the crankshaft now, 2 full rotations, and then check the tension on this belt again, and also double check all our marks. Okay guys, so our timing marks don't line up, but it's not a big deal. Okay, well, that took a couple of tries. I actually ended up removing that heat shield down there, and also removing the harmonic balancer to be able to line up the crankshaft right. And then after that, it was lined up correctly, and it was fine. So yeah, I didn't get it on video, but again, if you want to get detailed instructions as to how to line up the timing belt and replace the timing belt and the water pump and all that stuff, check out my channel. I got a series on this engine. So next step is going to be to put in our exhaust manifold. First, put in our exhaust manifold gasket, which we sprayed some brake clean on and wiped down with a couple of rags. And next, we'll put on our exhaust manifold. Okay, now it's time to tighten put these nuts in and tighten it down. And the torque spec for these nuts is 33 foot-per-pound. Again, we're gonna start from center out. Just gonna put hand tight these two top ones first, because this is sitting at an angle. Then I'll tighten the one that's exact center on the bottom side. Okay. Again, don't forget to go in a crisscross manner. Okay, next we get our heat shield and run the connector for the O2 sensor through it, and throw it back on and tighten it down. Okay, next we just hook back in the O2 sensor connector. Okay, next we'll put on this bracket that goes into for the power steering pump. And the two smaller ones on the side are 12mm. Okay, now we get to throw on our power steering pump. The smaller bolt goes on top, and the bigger one goes on the bottom, going from the opposite direction. Okay, obviously don't forget to put on your power steering pump belt. And okay, so before tightening this down, we're going to apply with just our hand. We're going to apply some tension to the belt. Okay, next I want to get the intake manifold on here. I've already got my cleaned off the old intake manifold gasket and got it on there. So now we just slide this on and then start tightening the nuts. And the torque spec for these nuts is 15 foot/pound. There we go. Again, you want to go from the center out. The one that's exactly on the center is on the bottom. But in order to keep this in place, I'm going to just hand tighten the two ones that are on the top, that are on the center first, so it stays in place. And again, I don't know how you can fit a torque wrench in here to tighten these down, so I'm going to kind of have to go by feel. Okay, so I just tightened on the one that's on the center on the bottom side. Just not going to get that on video because it's too hard, but now I'm just going to tighten these two top ones down that are on the center. Now back to the two more ones on the bottom and then back up here. Okay, back on top to finish these guys down. Okay, and next we just bolt down those two bolts that are supporting the bracket, that are for the bracket that supports the intake manifold. Okay. Okay, before we go any further, we're gonna put in this exhaust downpipe to exhaust manifold gasket. And put this guy back on here. Secured with these two 19mm bolts. Again, I don't have a torque spec for this, but probably about 30 foot/pound. Okay, next up, this bolt that secures this downpipe to the engine.